Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 269 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and met the gaze of the woman in the blue dress. Wang Lin had never seen her before and she didn't feel familiar at all. However, her gaze made him feel a bit puzzled. Right now was not the moment to ponder this. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral as he continued to retreat. The 100 towers closed in with sharp whistles that wanted to tear open the world and shot straight for the Moongazer serpent. These tall towers were like swords piercing through space. The Moongazer serpent let out an angry roar as its countless tentacles reached out toward the incoming towers. At this moment, the fastest tower closed in and was caught by a tentacle. The moment they touched, the tower immediately shattered into black powder that spread out. As for the Alliance cultivators on the tower, they had already jumped off when the tower got close to the Moongazer serpent. Shortly after, more towers arrived while whistling. Most of them were caught by the Moongazer serpent's tentacles and exploded into black powder. As the black powder spread out, the remaining towers moved several times faster. They were like swords that penetrated the black powder, dodged the tentacles, and directly pierced the Moongazer serpent's body. Bang! Loud explosions echoed when the towers collided with the Moongazer serpent. Cracks appeared at the tips of the towers and rapidly spread. In the blink of an eye, the towers were covered in cracks and then collapsed into powder. Bang, 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 bang! The explosions echoed as the towers that weren't stopped by the tentacles collided with the Moongazer serpent's body and turned into powder. During this process, the Moongazer serpent roared as if it was crazy and its tentacles swept the area. Some of the surrounding cultivators weren't able to dodge quickly enough and died. Seal. The voice of the woman in the blue dress was gentle, but it clearly echoed across the stars. In an instant, all the black powder around the Moongazer serpent gave off a demonic glow. The powder spread out and formed a sphere around the Moongazer serpent. There were bright blood lights inside the sphere, and at this moment, an extremely shocking scene was unfolding on 100 planets scattered across the eastern, southern, and northern parts of the Alliance. On one of the planets, almost all of the cultivators had been mobilized. They had captured demonic beasts from their habitats. All the demonic beasts were imprisoned in a very large formation. This formation was a circle with a radius of 5,000 kilometers. Demonic beasts were densely packed within the formation. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Large amounts of cultivators floated in the sky outside the formation as if they were waiting for a command. There was a red-haired elder with them who apparently had high status. The surrounding cultivators moved with him as the center. When the woman in the blue dress gave the command, her voice seemed to be able to penetrate the void and travel across the stars due to a special spell to let the people present hear the command. In an instant, the red-haired elder's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. With a wave of his arm, all the surrounding cultivators launched an orderly attack of spells and magic treasures at the tens of thousands of demonic beasts below them. Waves of miserable roars echoed within this formation, and it became a sea of blood. The formation activated and completely absorbed the blood of these tens of thousands of demonic beasts clean. This scene occurred in nearly 100 other planets. This was one of the 10 great formations in the Alliance, the Million Beast Blood Soul Seal. These nearly 100 towers were made with a special material to go along with this formation. At this moment, as the millions of beasts died on those 100 planets, the black powder surrounding the Moongazer serpent gave off a powerful smell of blood. This smell of blood was too dense. If one were to smell it, their heart would tremble. The black powder began to move mysteriously under this dense scent of blood. The powder began to solidify and the Moongazer serpent was completely sealed under this black, earth-like material. The black powder outside the Moongazer serpent solidified into a huge ball that trapped the Moongazer serpent inside. Only its muffled roars continued to spread and echo among the stars. At this moment, the tens of thousands of Alliance cultivators that had jumped off the towers before they collapsed all charged toward the All-Heaven cultivators. This scene shocked the All-Heaven cultivators. Li Yanzi and the Shengong family ancestor looked at each other and then immediately jumped off the giant wood. Li Yanzi's right hand reached out to the void and the world's origin energy gathered. It condensed into almost 100 small flags. He and the Shengong family ancestor were the two with the highest statuses here aside from the Xiong family ancestor and the middle-aged man from the Gongsun family. Before those two left, they temporarily handed command to Li Yanzi and the Shengong family ancestor. Li Yanzi was burdened with an extremely important mission. He grabbed a portion of the flags and threw them to the side as he shouted, 72 Earth Celestials, gather your teams and exterminate all the Alliance cultivators. Order received. Dozens of all-heaven cultivators immediately flew out. They were the Earth Celestials from the 108 Celestials, but not all of them were here. They grabbed their flags and led their teams into a chaotic battle with the Alliance cultivators that got off the towers. An instant later, bursts of rumbles and endless sounds of magic treasures echoed among the stars. Their endless flashes of light set off a monstrous slaughter intent. The Shengong family ancestor also grabbed dozens of small flags and threw them. He shouted, 36 heaven celestials, help me break the seal on the moon beast. After he spoke, he took a step and charged toward the seal. Behind him were dozens of cultivators along with their own respective teams. The big-headed boy was among them. Shumu, the four of you, guard me. Li Yanzi's gaze swept past Wang Lin, the woman in the palace dress, the black-robed old man, and the youth in white before he sat down on the giant wood. The wood shook and abruptly stopped in the sky. Li Yanzi sat down and then his hands formed a seal and he pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. His origin soul rushed out, and outside his origin soul were the 3 battle scrolls. They started circling around him. Li Yanzi's origin soul pointed at one of the battle scrolls and sent out a thunderous wave of divine sense. As this divine sense spread out, one of the 17 Lu Fu suddenly exploded and a bloody figure walked out. This bloody figure was a man made of blood. After it appeared, it let out a roar and charged into the battle. Blood God and company weren't idling either. Black Fiend Devil Saint and Cloud Dragon Demon Saint were attacking Blood God and company. The two sides had opened up a new battlefield, and it was difficult to gain an advantage for either side. The Blood Person went toward the battlefield of Blood God and Black Fiend Devil Saint. The moment the Blood Person arrived, Black Fiend Devil Saint was forced into a sorry state and had to retreat. Li Yanzi's origin soul trembled and then he immediately sat down to recover. Although his cultivation wasn't as powerful as Master Flame's Park and company's, even inferior to Blood Gods, his role in the battle between All Heaven and Alliance was great. The 18 Lu Fu didn't belong to his Shan family, but only his Shan family had the spell to control them. It couldn't be passed to outsiders, only a few people from the Shan family could use it. This spell came from a sliver of comprehension and inheritance from the battle scrolls. Although this matter sounds complicated, it was one of the secrets in the All-Heaven star system. Don't allow the person from the Shan family touch the Lu Fu blood balls. However, this secret was broken during the preparations for the war against the Alliance. Master Flame's Park, the Xiong family ancestor, the middle-aged man from the Gongsun family, and several old monsters had all decided to let Li Yanzi control the 18 Lu Fu. As soon as Li Yanzi's origin soul recovered slightly, he pointed at another battle scroll. His divine sense entered the battle scroll and turned into an incredible wave that swept across the stars. One of the 16 remaining Lu Fu exploded into countless drops of blood and formed another blood person. This blood person let out a roar and charged straight toward where the Shengong family ancestor was battling the seal that was holding the Moongazer serpent. Among the Alliance cultivators, the woman in the blue dress frowned. She pointed with her jade-like hand and one of the giant demon clan members let out a roar and stepped forward. The cultivation planet he was carrying wasn't very large, only about 1% of a normal cultivation planet. Nevertheless, the giant demon clan member was really insignificant compared to it. However, the giant demon clan member was very fast, and as he ran, he mercilessly threw it. The cultivation planet directly came crashing down toward the remaining 15 Lu Fu. There was still an old man floating on the cultivation planet. His eyes lit up as he quickly approached the 15 Lu Fu along with the cultivation planet. However, the suppression force became even stronger the closer you were to the Lu Fu. The old man's expression became serious as he rapidly approached the 15 Lu Fu. As for the giant demon clan member, he let out a roar and charged at Li Yanzi. Li Yanzi's origin soul floated there and looked slightly bleak. He suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "Lu Hong, Zhu Xingtian, the two of you, quickly go protect the Lu Fu." After he spoke, the black-robed old man and the white-robed youth charged out and went toward the Lu Fu. The Lu Fu had great influence on the Alliance cultivators, but not only did they not affect these two, they helped them greatly. They rushed over and immediately used their spells to protect them. Li Yanzi clenched his teeth and pointed at another battle scroll. When his divine sense entered it, one of the 15 Lu Fu collapsed into a blood person to battle the old man on the cultivation planet. At this moment, the 10,000-foot giant demon clan member rushed over. If it met any all-heaven cultivators weaker than him, he would grab them and crush them with a roar before swallowing them. This 10,000-foot giant demon clan member was at the peak of the corporeal yang stage, but this body was too strong and thus could absorb a lot more origin energy than normal cultivators. Although he was only at the peak of the corporeal yang stage, he could battle against ordinary early-stage nirvana scryer cultivators. With how strong his body was, he wasn't afraid of most magic treasures. Right now, the giant charged straight for Li Yanzi on the giant wood. The giant's eyes were cloudy and there was a hint of madness in them. "He wants to self-destruct." A very beautiful voice appeared next to Wang Lin's ear. It was the woman in the palace dress who spoke as the giant approached rapidly. Wang Lin nodded and looked at Li Yanzi's origin soul. The origin soul was currently recovering to summon another blood person. Li Yanzi couldn't be disturbed right now. However, Wang Lin didn't believe that Li Yanzi didn't have backup, but this wasn't the moment to test Li Yanzi. As the giant demon clan member got closer and closer, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he calmly said, "Let me." After he spoke, he took a step and charged straight at the giant. The woman in the palace dress smiled gracefully. Although it was a battle, she was still extremely calm. She pulled back some hair behind her ear and smiled at Wang Lin. "Fellow cultivator Shu, be careful." When Wang Lin stepped off the giant wood and exited the giant wood's area of influence, he heard all of the chaos coming from the surrounding battles. As the giant demon clan member approached, he could hear the sonic booms created by the charge. The giant demon clan member charged forward and moved faster and faster. A destructive aura spread out from his body, and in an instant, the giant closed in. His right hand formed a fist, and as he threw the punch, he shouted, "Back off." The fist arrived and the wind created by the fist swept by Wang Lin. Although this wind was strong, it couldn't even make Wang Lin take half a step back. With a cold expression, he threw out a punch as well. This scene was extremely strange. The 10,000-foot giant's fist was incomparably huge, while Wang Lin was like an insignificant ant. His fist was even more negligible. However, when the two fists closed, a thunderous rumble echoed, and it became stronger and stronger. It was as if all the sounds before this were preparations for the collision of the two fists. When the two fists came even closer to each other, the thunderous rumble seemed to replace all sound. The surrounding cultivators only felt a hum echo endlessly in their ears. Time seemed to slow down as the two fists came closer and closer. Then, in just one moment, the two fists collided and a thunderous rumble echoed. This sound was so intense that it caused the countless surrounding cultivators to tremble. It also created an invisible shockwave that spread in all directions. Large amounts of cultivators were interrupted from their battles and quickly retreated. They all looked in terror at the battle between Wang Lin and the giant. The 10,000-foot giant's body trembled violently as he felt an unimaginable force coming from the other party's tiny fist. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and popping sounds echoed from his fist. A moment later, his right fist exploded in a bloody mess. After letting a miserable scream, this 10,000-foot giant wasn't able to withstand his powerful force and was pushed back. The collapse of his body didn't stop. Even though he was part of the giant demon clan, he couldn't withstand Wang Lin's ancient god power. Not only did his right arm disintegrate, a large part of his body also disintegrated. The madness in the giant demon clan member's eyes became even stronger. He let out a roar and a destructive aura surged inside his body, and at that instant, he blew up. The self-destruction of a peak corporeal young cultivator was very strong, especially when this person had the body of a giant demon clan member. This power was enough to even make Wang Lin frown. Wang Lin's face turned slightly red and his eyes became even more cold. He forcibly coughed out some blood so people wouldn't suspect him too much, then his right hand formed a seal and he shouted, "Call the wind." After he said those words, a black wind appeared in Wang Lin's right hand and turned into two black dragons. The black dragons rushed out, and as they devoured, they also spat out blasts of cold air that could extinguish life. Call the wind was extremely strong, and under the impact of the black dragons, the giant's body was instantly pushed very far away. The two dragons actually devoured the giant's body, which infinitely weakened the power of his self-destruction. Boom! After a loud bang, the 10,000-foot giant demon clan member exploded, causing an immeasurable impact. This caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. Even the old monsters that were fighting couldn't help but take a look. Wang Lin's face turned slightly pale as he staggered back to the giant wood as if he was injured. In truth, killing a 10,000-foot giant demon clan member was not difficult at all for Wang Lin, who had the body of an ancient god. The woman in the palace dress on the giant wood smiled. "I admire fellow cultivator Shu's spells. The spell that lets you instantly increase the power of your body is especially shocking." Li Yanzi opened his eyes and revealed admiration, but he didn't speak. He pointed at one of the battle scrolls and his divine sense entered it. A second later, another of the 14 Lufu quickly shrank. Without collapsing, it condensed into another blood person. This blood person seemed to contain a blood spell that could reverse the heavens. It charged directly at the old man on the cultivation planet that was battling another blood person, the black-robed old man, and the youth in white. In the distance, the woman in the blue dress frowned even harder. She pointed with her jade-like hand and the other two 10,000-foot giants charged out. One of them went directly toward the Lufu. As for the other, he charged directly toward the giant wood. As this giant demon clan member closed in, the old man on the cultivation planet flew up. Then his hands formed a seal and he pressed down. The cultivation planet between the old man and the giant demon clan member suddenly began to rotate and emit a ripple. The old man began chanting and his eyes lit up. Then his hand pushed down and he shouted, "Cultivation planet fluctuation." After he spoke, the cultivation planet flew by itself and rotated even faster. However, as it rotated, it began to shrink until it was only half its original size. At the same time, a scarlet-red ripple spread out from the cultivation planet. Under the old man's control, it spread ahead at an unimaginable speed. This red ripple was too fast. As it spread out, some all-heaven cultivators were affected. They began to tremble, and in an instant, their entire bodies, including their bags of holding, collapsed. This ripple shot straight toward the giant wood. Wang Lin's expression changed, and Li Yanzi opened his eyes and shouted, "Shu Mu, Zi Yang, the two of you quickly scatter. Do your own things and don't bother guarding this old man." Even without Li Yanzi giving the command, Wang Lin had already moved the moment Li Yanzi spoke. He charged off the giant wood and quickly left this place with one teleportation. The woman in the palace dress was the same and quickly left. Just as the two of them left, the scarlet-red ripple arrived. Li Yanzi's origin soul wrapped around his body and formed a seal. At this moment, both his origin soul and body disappeared into the giant wood. The scarlet ripple landed on the giant wood and swept by along the giant wood's length. Wang Lin dodged far away from the scarlet-red ripple. However, his surroundings were in complete chaos. The moment he reappeared, a sword from an alliance cultivator swept toward him. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he didn't even dodge. The sword hit his body and bounced off. Then he turned around and pointed. This point contained origin energy and also the power of an ancient god. It landed directly on the person who had sneak attacked him. A ghast filled this person's eyes, and just as he was about to retreat, a large amount of blood mist exploded from his body. His origin soul fled in panic, but just then, another all-heaven cultivator caught his origin soul and crushed it. The All-Heaven cultivator was filled with killing intent as he looked at Wang Lin. He licked his lips and said in a hoarse voice, "Shu Mu, why don't the two of us compete again? Let's see who kills more." This All-Heaven cultivator was Vice Thunder Celestial Shu Ting. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he calmly said, "If you really want to compare, then why not see who can kill that woman?" As he spoke, he pointed at the woman in the blue dress. Shu Ting was startled and his expression was uncertain. He clenched his teeth and said, "Good, then let us compete with this. We'll both slaughter our way there and see who will succeed." The woman obviously had a very high status, or else she wouldn't be leading this battle. However, this woman's cultivation didn't seem to be that high, only mid-stage of Nirvana Scrya. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he sneered in his heart, but he charged forward toward the woman in the blue dress first. Shu Ting's expression was gloomy as he followed suit. The two of them charged toward the horizon. There were many cultivators killing each other and all kinds of magic treasures were flying around. Shu Ting was bloodthirsty. Anytime he encountered someone with a lower cultivation level, he would immediately attack. As a result, he was a bit slower. Wang Lin had more than 1,000 years of experience, so he had easily seen through Shu Ting's intent. He didn't point it out or use the same method as Shu Ting. Instead, his speed didn't fall as he closed in on the woman in the blue dress. During the chaotic battle, the woman in the blue dress clearly saw Wang Lin and Shu Ting's actions. She was calm, but she didn't look at Shu Ting. She only looked at Wang Lin with a cold gaze. Wang Lin moved even faster and faster as he traveled between the cultivators. A moment later, he was already within 1,000 feet of the woman. While letting out a laugh, his right hand formed a fist and he mercilessly threw a punch. This punch hit the void, and a thunderous roar echoed and countless ripples spread out. It created a powerful shockwave that charged straight at the woman in the blue dress. Wang Lin's figure didn't stop, he charged in right after the shockwave. Not far away from Wang Lin, Shu Ting's eyes lit up and he sneered. Not only did he not move closer, he retreated to the side. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. "Shu Mu, you have been cultivating for so many years, yet your schemes are only this shallow. This woman obviously has a special status in the alliance, or else she wouldn't be organizing this battle. Although her cultivation level isn't high, she must have a powerful guardian. You want to lure me into killing her? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? I want to see how you end this." He stared at Wang Lin, who was closing in on the woman in the blue dress, and the sneer on his face became even stronger. Wang Lin didn't slow down and followed the shockwave. The shockwave was earth-shattering and moved like lightning. It arrived 100 feet before the woman in the blue dress. There was a flash of coldness in her eyes. She knew that the giant demon clan member under her couldn't stop this person. However, there was no trace of panic as she calmly lifted her left hand and pressed down on the void below her. Just at this instant, the cultivation planet the giant demon clan member was carrying began to rotate at an incredible speed. Waves of scarlet-red ripples quickly spread out. The scarlet-red ripples contained a destructive aura. As they spread, the cultivation planet shrank at a rate visible to the naked eye. The shockwave created by Wang Lin's punch collided with the scarlet-red ripples. There was a loud bang and the shockwave collapsed. The scarlet-red ripples quickly spread toward Wang Lin without any obstruction. Shu Ting felt ecstasy in his heart as he watched this. This Shu Mu had really overestimated himself. If he were to die here, it would be a blessing. However, just as Shu Ting was feeling joy, Wang Lin, who was near the scarlet-red ripples, suddenly turned around and looked at Shu Ting with a smile that wasn't a smile. When his expression fell in Shu Ting's eyes, it made Shu Ting tremble. Not good. Shu Ting believed he understood Wang Lin. Seeing Wang Lin make such an expression when he was at a moment of life and death made his mind tremble. Just at this moment, a giant furnace appeared around Wang Lin. The sound of the furnace echoed as Wang Lin's right hand pointed at Shu Ting and he shouted, "Change positions." In an instant, a power that made Shu Ting lose his wit appeared around him. It didn't give him any time to react, and this power was not something he could resist. The power surrounded his body and he felt as if time itself had stopped. The scarlet-red ripples were less than 1 foot away from Wang Lin when he suddenly changed positions with Xu Ting. It was as if the world was reversed. At the next instant, time seemed to return back to normal. In truth, time didn't stop at all. It was all an illusion that Xu Ting felt due to the spell being too fast. When he regained his composure, all the hair on his body stood up and a life and death crisis surrounded him. His vision was covered in red, but this wasn't time for him to think. His hands formed a seal and his celestial origin energy surged out like crazy. His body shrank, and in the blink of an eye, more than 100 barriers formed around him. These barriers were formed by his celestial origin energy along with a celestial spell his Xu family had passed down. From afar, Xu Ting looked like a sun as he was covered by layers of golden light. The instant the barriers appeared around him, the scarlet-red ripples closed in. Bang, 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 bang. The scarlet ripples were like violent waves that bombarded him non-stop. In an instant, more than 30 of the 100-plus barriers around Xu Ting collapsed. This scene made Xu Ting's scalp go numb, but he didn't idle by, he retreated. As the scarlet-red ripples spread out, dozens more of the barriers around him collapsed. Xu Mu! Xu Ting let out a roar and his hatred had reached a peak. The scarlet-red ripples were significantly faster than Xu Ting. No matter how far he retreated, the scarlet-red ripples still caught up and passed by. Bang, bang, bang. The moment the scarlet-red ripples passed through Xu Ting, all of the barriers around him collapsed. He felt his body being pulled so hard that it was going to shatter. The moment his barriers collapsed, Xu Ting took out more than 100 jades. Without time to feel heartache for them, he crushed them all and more than 100 different colored barriers appeared around him. In addition, he took out large amount of treasures to resist the ripples. However, the moment these barriers formed, they immediately collapsed, even the magic treasures shattered as well. Although this was the case, the scarlet-red ripples had grown weaker after Xu Ting's continued resistance. After all, this wasn't a concentrated attack, it was spread out, so the power was divided by a lot. However, even so, it was not something Xu Ting could resist. After all, he had consumed a lot of celestial origin energy and used a number of magic treasures in the battle. Using this chance, he coughed out blood that contained his celestial origin. The blood diffused around him as he quickly escaped from the scarlet-red ripples. If he had used the blood escape when the ripples were strong, he might not have been able to escape. However, now that the ripples were weakened, he had a chance. He really wasn't willing to use the blood escape unless it was his last resort in the battlefield. Although it was only for a moment, in his mind, the danger he faced was no less than when he faced Wang Lin in one line to heaven. The hatred he had for Wang Lin in his heart was already indescribable. He turned around and roared, "Xu Mu, you!" He wanted to use this roar to expose Wang Lin's behavior so that the All-Heaven cultivators and the old monsters would be suspicious of Wang Lin. However, just when he was about to speak, his words were cut off by Wang Lin's laughter. Wang Lin charged out toward the scarlet-red ripples as Xu Ting retreated. At the same time, he laughed. "Fellow cultivator Xu is indeed reliable. Since you helped me weaken the scarlet-red ripples, I, Xu Mu, will naturally not forget. If I can kill this woman, then you will also gain credit for the kill." As Wang Lin spoke, he moved extremely fast. The scarlet-red ripples that made contact with Xu Ting were already weakened. Wang Lin's 2 fingers formed a sword, then his ancient god body plus his origin energy and the yin and yang fishes collided with the scarlet-red ripples. Bang! After a loud bang, Wang Lin charged inside the scarlet-red ripples without any obstruction. When Xu Ting saw all of this, monstrous anger filled his eyes. The blood light around him collapsed due to the anger and he staggered back. The anger injured his mind, causing him to cough out more blood. This mouthful of blood made him sober. He suppressed his anger and revealed a cold gaze before retreating without hesitation. Wang Lin let out a sigh in his heart. This Xu Ting was indeed a character. Although he was angered, he was able to regain clarity rather quickly. He was trying to kill Xu Ting by borrowing someone else's hand. If he had succeeded, it would have been a joyous occasion. Wang Lin had never forgotten that there was still a sliver of source origin energy in Xu Ting's body. Back then, he killed Shu Ting's avatar and took half of that source origin energy. At this moment, he ignored Shu Ting. As Wang Lin charged into the scarlet-red ripples, he stared at the woman in the blue dress. As he moved forward, his right hand formed a seal and pointed at the void, making black wind appear. It surrounded the area and formed a black whirlwind. This whirlwind was extremely powerful, and the roar of a dragon came out from inside it. Then the heads of 2 dragons peeked out and charged directly at the woman in the blue dress. The woman's expression was still cold, but her gaze toward Wang Lin became complex. "Lord doesn't know me, but I know you." She let out a sigh and looked at the 8-leaf lotus flower. Then her left hand plucked a leaf and gently threw it forward. The leaf flew forward and emitted a fragrance. It rapidly grew until it was hundreds of feet large and gently fell toward Wang Lin. Boom! A loud explosion came from the space 100 feet around Wang Lin. A powerful aura seemed to surround the 100 feet of space around him. It was as if everything inside this space had to collapse. Crackling sounds appeared under Wang Lin's feet and a huge crack appeared. A powerful force came from space as if it was trying to push him into the crack. This video will end here.